President Donald Trump's big, beautiful bill just made ICE the highest funded federal law enforcement agency in history. They now have more money than the FBI, DEA, ATF, and the US Marshals combined. I'm Gustavo Solis, and this is the Border Brief. Today, we're going to find out how ICE plans to spend $75 billion. And to help us do that, we have Adam Isacson from the Washington Office on Latin America. It's a research and advocacy organization in Washington, D.C. Adam, welcome.
Hey, good to be here, Gustavo. Good to see you.
Yeah, and glad we get a chance to chat right now because, we really only have three questions. What does this mean for ICE in terms of arrests, deportations, and detention? But let's start with the big picture. I mean, that's a lot of money going to this federal agency. What were your first reactions?
I mean, when we first saw the proposal, which really didn't get changed at all in Congress, we were shocked by its size. I mean, ICE is a just over $9 billion a year organization. And as you said, over the next 4 years, on top of that, they're going to have an extra $75 billion. Which is just going to make it, it's going to be a presence in all of our lives from now on. And something similar, not as radical, but something similar is happening with the United States Border Agency, Customs and Border Protection, which includes Border Patrol, which is getting at least $65 billion in addition to its usual budget of about $20 billion.
That's a lot to unpack there. Let's start with ICE arrests, right? We're already seeing daily viral videos of arrests all over the country. Here in San Diego, we've seen workplace raids and courthouse arrests. What does this new funding source mean for enforcement going forward?
I mean, what we've all been seeing happening in Los Angeles since early June is sort of a proof of concept. This is what they were doing on basically a Biden-era budget. Congress didn't really give a significant increase this year. Now they have far more resources to carry out these kinds of operations. There is money. Okay, ICE has about 6,000 deportation officers or enforcement and removal officers who can do these agents who are doing these sweeps and these arrests. 6,000. The bill gives them money to hire 10,000 more. So the idea is to more than double, almost triple the size of this force. Of course, it takes a while to do the hiring, but in the meantime, there will probably be money to have National Guard, to have other agencies, everybody from DEA to the Bureau of Prisons, and of course, CBP and Border Patrol, as we've seen in Los Angeles, filling those shoes and increasing the tempo of those operations. The idea, and Trump administration officials are pretty clear about it, their idea is to expand that Los Angeles model to other populations around the United States.
No, I think I like the way you framed it. It's a proof of concept.
Right.
Yeah. So I think it's safe to say we can expect more arrests with this fund, which means a lot more people in immigration detention. What will immigration detention look like with this influx of funding? I imagine private prison companies are the big winners here.
This is incredible. I should just say also, I mean, at the end of May, Stephen Miller, the Deputy White House Chief of Staff, went over to ICE and told them, you now have a quota that you have to meet of 3,000 arrests per day. They were just struggling to get over 1,000. They're not there yet. They're a little over 2,000, but with all of this money, they will get most likely to 3,000, which is, then you hit 1 million people a year. Being arrested. So once people are arrested, of course, they go into ICE's network of detention centers, many of which, nearly all of which are run by for-profit companies. That network had an annual budget of about $3.5 billion a year. This bill over the next 4 years just gave that network an extra $45 billion. We're talking about increasing its capacity by 4, at least in dollar terms. Right now, there's about 58,000 people languishing in ICE detention right now. That is way above the 41,000 limit that we saw during at the maximum time during the Biden years. And of course, the idea now is to get to some of the more sober estimates are having at least 125,000 people in custody at any time. That is just almost equal to the number of people in all federal prisons around the United States. It is huge. And of course, $45 billion, nearly all of that will go to contractors. There are two big private prison and detention companies in the United States, Core Civic and the Geo Group. Their stock prices have already been going through the roof since Election Day last year, and they are about to have a big payday. Applied Services is a company that specializes in making like sort of large tents. temporary places to hold people. I mean, they also do like events and circuses, but no, they're going to get a lot of money too, as are similar companies that focus on that. And then all of the other services that go along with that, everything from guards to plumbers and cafeteria workers and everything else are going to have a humongous payday.
Yeah, I should note, at least here in San Diego, Core Civic is the company that runs the Otay Mesa Detention Center. I counted last week. I forget what the name is up to now, or what the number is up to now. There's been between 8 and 12 in custody deaths already
Yeah,
under
since
Trump administration.
January. Yeah, since January 1st, I think we're counting 10 and maybe 11 on the fiscal year so far. So one more, and they've already tied last year.
Well, let's not forget Trump's main goal here, right? Mass deportations. We're already seeing deportations to a third country like El Salvador and Sudan, even for people who aren't from those countries. How can this, how can this funding, what can we expect in the near future when it comes to deportations?
The deportation machine, when you're not, obviously, there's a lot of deportations that happen just by land across the Mexican border, almost entirely, but not entirely, almost entirely of Mexican citizens. But there's another deportation machine that requires aircraft, and it's expensive. It's ICE contractors, and now during the Trump administration, a lot of military planes too, that fly people, often just shackled, to their home countries, and unfortunately, increasingly to third countries that might take them as well after some bullying. Our colleague Tom Cartwright, who monitors these flights for witness at the border, counted to 209 of these deportation flights in June, most of them to the Americas still, but increasingly going to Africa and Asia as well, some of them being routed through the Guantanamo Bay base in Cuba, because that's another thing that President Trump wanted. How many is 209? If you average like February through April, which were sort of normal levels for the Biden era also, there's been an increase of 63% already, just with the budget they had. Now, ICE's deportation operations had a budget, of about $700 or $800 million a year. This bill gives them $14.4 billion more just over the next 4 years. So they're going to be able to multiply their capacity to run these flights, taking people to their home countries, but also taking them just anywhere around the world where they'll be taken. We just saw, after the Supreme Court gave a green light for it to happen, 8 migrants from Asia, Africa, and 1 from Cuba, 1 from Mexico dropped off in South Sudan. The Mexican guy, Mexico has almost never says no to a deportation. They would not have said no to this guy being deported. He was being held in Port Isabel, Texas, which is about a half-hour drive from the Mexican border. And still they decided to fly him to a war-torn country in Central Africa. So why Guantanamo? Why Central Africa? Why this mega prison in El Salvador? Clearly, there is, and why the cruelty and the brutality that we're seeing in a lot of these operations in places like Los Angeles. Clearly, there is an intention to scare the hell out of people, make them, spread. Really, there's no other word for it. A climate of terror, so that people will decide to self-deport, which, of course, for DHS is a lot cheaper than having to fly them on one of these planes.
One last thing I'm curious about is recruitment. Right, you've already mentioned how this isn't going to happen overnight. They're going to need to invest and spend a lot of this money. ICE is going to have to hire a lot more agents, and quickly. Now, I've heard in the past before some law enforcement agencies have struggled with rapid expansions like that. Is this something you've looked at? What are your thoughts on that?
There's going to be a lot of pressure as they try to more than double ICE to lower hiring standards, to just take more warm bodies, maybe don't look as closely at their backgrounds, maybe go easy on the polygraphs. And a fear there is you're going to get the kind of person who is attracted by all these videos who have been horrifying us and said, hey, give me a crack at that. I want to do some of that, chasing brown people around. Or let's be frank, maybe even just plain old Proud Boys, right? And people who are just one shade away from being in a militia in order to fill the ranks of ICE. That's scary. But even then, it takes a while to do whatever background checks they're doing. It takes a while to get them through the academy. It's not a lot of training, but it is some training. And in the meantime, I think they are going to lean hard on the U.S. military in a role that the U.S. military is absolutely not cut out to do, as well as other agencies that are supposed to be looking at everything from child pornography to drug dealing to, intellectual property theft, to you name it. They're going to be, people are right now vastly being reassigned away from other kinds of crime. Forget about white collar crime, and being assigned to this immigration enforcement mission.
Yeah, that's
And
something we've
that's how
seen
they're
in
going.
San
That's the
Diego.
stopgap they're going to have. I bet you are. Yeah.
Yeah, we saw actually in the first workplace raid outside of El Cajon, there were a couple of dozen DEA agents there. And I
So
was
weird,
asking
isn't it?
them, oh, how
Yeah.
many drugs are in the building? None. There weren't any drugs in the
Which,
building. It was purely immigration raid.
think about it. If you're trying to move some fentanyl, you're feeling some less pressure now because the
Mm.
investigators and the people are the intelligence and the contacts and who know how to do this work are looking for immigrants.
Gosh. Well, Adam, thank you so much for walking us through this. I really, really appreciate it.
No, my pleasure. It's great to talk to you again, Gustavo.
Yeah. And thank you for watching the Border Brief. I'm Gustavo Solis.